Hello.
Shusad. TikTok is already rocking and rolling. TikTok, you guys are always ready to rock and roll on Wadih Wednesday. Into جاهزين. Good job. Good job. احنا مش جاهزين. استنوا شوية. We're going to talk about patience, developing patience within Middle Eastern communities. That's what we're going to talk about today. As we're getting set up, my name is Tiffany Tota. I'm a marriage and family therapist, Palestinian American, coming to you live from Los Angeles, California. And every Wednesday, I am blessed to be joined by my assistant, Mira, heralding all the way from Egypt, who assists me on these lives. And we have created Community for International Arab. It is a space for us to come together as one community to talk about ways to help improve our lives, create awareness around issues of our cultural context, and more importantly, find a space to be seen, heard, and dare I say, loved. So we're still going to get started. We got a few more minutes. Thank you, Mira. All right. Are we rocking and rolling?
Yeah.
All right. Let's see who's saying hi. Let's see. Tadic, hello. I think it's Wakas, hello. Let's see. Abdullah's in the house. Hi, Rania. Always good to see you. Let's see. Anybody else? Today we're going to talk about developing patience. Sabir. Right, Mira? We had a good chat this morning about sabir. So, as this community is all about awareness. I let everyone know I do not have the answers. Only you have the answer within you, and that requires self-reflection. So, as we start to have people join the live, think about, what does patience, when you hear the word patience, what comes to mind? Patience, sabr. What comes to your mind? What's your relationship to this word? Okay. Because we're going to get started in 2 minutes. But as you start to call your awareness to your body, because our bodies have a wealth of information if we just pay attention to it. But because we're always pulled in so many different directions, that we don't have this time to really reflect. So use this time, have this community hold you in space. Patience, sabr. Because I think within our cultural context and the richness of our Arabic language, sabr is not just patience. So I'm going to talk more, because Mira and I had a very nice discussion around our language is not just one word. It's the Arabic language is more of an essence of words. So we'll talk about that. All right, Mira, we've got 1 more minute. Maybe we start with, where is everybody coming from?
Yeah, and we can welcome everyone on Instagram. We have a lot of comments there. Can you
Oh,
see?
hey, Instagram. Oh my gosh, thank you for reminding me. It's so much. You guys, please be patient with me. There's so much happening with, I have like 3 screens and I'm trying to focus. Let me see. Let's see. Ibrahim, I love that. Good morning. Tamir. Tamir, is that you? Is that my cousin Tamir? Tamir, if that's you, my cousin. Hi, Tamir. Let's see. Oh, George. Hey. Oh my God, my cousins are in the house, you guys. Thank you for the support. I have amazing cousins. They are incredible people. Hi, George. Let's see. Sophia from Egypt. Oh, you're in LA too. Oh, I love that. And then is it Deba Priyak from Taipei? Welcome, welcome. Look at all these cool people. Dina, I love you too, Habibti. I love you too. Let's see. I think I missed some people. Miro,
Yeah.
let's see. Miro lives in, I think, Santa Monica. Hey, okay. Santa Monica is absolutely beautiful. Let's see. We've got Freedom who's from Toronto, Falastiniya or Falastini. I love that. Welcome, welcome. Let's see, how's Instagram doing? Oh, hi, Nadine. Hi, Habibti. Let's see, Ahmad's in the house. We've got, who else? We got Balidawa. I hope I said that right. Good evening to you. And then we have Amin. All right. We've got that. Okay, it's 8:01. Mira, let's start.
Yeah. Can I start with some Yalla news?
Yalla news. Let's go.
Yeah, so I have some quick updates for you. So the first thing is that the freebies are now available. Tiffany created a beautiful guide called 7 Ways to Work on Self-Doubt, and you can now download it through the link in bio. Also, for everyone that was asking about the workshops, now everything is on the website. You can check all the details there, and the link is also in the bio. And just a quick note that if you have any question, please be patient. I'll make sure Tiffany sees it. We're streaming on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at the same time. So it might take a moment to get to everyone, but we're doing our best. And yeah, thank you all for joining the Wadih Wednesday and being a part of the community.
Mira, you're amazing. Thank you. I say she keeps talk about sabr. I was talking to Mira this morning. She gives me patience and helps ground me in this process. So I asked earlier, what is sabr? What is this patience? And it's more than just waiting. It's about enduring. Because within our cultural context, it means how do we stay grounded in hardship, not giving up your peace, trusting in timing, and even when the path is unclear. What does this? That's what sabr is all those things. That's an endurement through, and we come from a people of big dignity and faith. And so it's more than just patience, like waiting in line at the grocery store. That to the patience that we're talking about here is enduring faith within you. That no matter what you want to do in your life, no matter what your path is, that you're going to stay grounded through the challenges, and you're going to assess what that is for you. Not giving up your inner peace, even though externally there may be so much chaos or people pushing back on you and saying, don't do this. This is a dumb idea. It's about you staying present to your own path from a place of peace, not from others' chaos. And one of the hardest things I know for me is trusting in the timing, because many times if you have, I want it and I want it now, I want to do it now. And when you're not trusting the timing of things, because many times things happen exactly when they need to happen and when you're ready. And a lot of times you may think you're ready, but the universe, whatever you want to call it, may have other plans. And how do you trust that? So there's a phrase fil Arabi, and I hope I say it right. Right? El sabr miftah el faraj. Is that right, Mira?
Yes.
And patience is the key to relief. Now, I say to myself, I say to my clients, I say to my family members, if you can really get good at patience, it absolutely can be your superpower for how you move forward in life. But patience isn't glamorous. Everyone says, oh, I have to be patient. Well, for you to say patient, it's for you to reframe that for yourself, that patience does offer relief. It does offer, when you get good at it, it will give you a presence of mind that I can't quite articulate because you have to go through the process. And if you keep becoming impatient and if you keep forcing things, you're never going to know what that relief feels like. So in all faiths, we are taught the value of patience. Is that right? Anybody want to share some phrases that they were taught around patience? Right? Anybody? What were you taught? Anybody around? I was taught patience, not nice things. I was told, "Inti tawli rohek." That's what I was told. It was always very aggressive around not teaching me patience, how to relax, how to stay grounded. It was always like, "Tawli rohek, calm down." Da, da, da. And that only exacerbated my anxiety. I don't know if you guys ever had that. Well, if nobody has any comments around what phrases you were taught, and if you write them fil Arabi, Mira can read them out to us.
Yeah, Asad said الصبر مفتاح الفرج. He just wrote it in Arabic.
Nice. I love that. Oh, thank you, Asad, for writing that fil Arabi. I really appreciate you doing that. So, oh, El Sabr Jamil. Oh my God, Nadine. Mira, didn't you say that this morning?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Thank you. Because it's important for you to connect to these phrases, because that's going to shape your nervous system, right? And what you were taught. So let's see. Mariana wrote, everything always ends up working out. Yes. Let's see. We have a few comments fil Arabi. Can you read them for me?
Yeah, of course. We have Rania said Sabr Ayub. Do you know that word?
La. What does that mean?
It's like sort of whenever like an auntie or someone, usually an old person says, "Oh my God, sabr, ya sabr Ayub." They're like, it's just the way they say it. It's like whenever they are very impatient, they're like, "Ya sabr Ayub." I think it's someone called Ayub that was very patient. I'm not sure. If someone knows why they say that, please let us know.
I love that. Oh, Ayub is one of the prophets, Nadine says.
Oh, yeah.
Got it. My teta would like hit her head and she goes, "Yay, Allah ya'tini al-sabr." So like for me, patience was always tied to hysteria, aggressiveness. Patience was not equated with calm and grounding. Okay. So again, take a look at for yourself what that is. Now, I want to talk about, and I think someone may have wrote this, the difference between passive waiting and active endurance. So, what does that mean? Passive waiting, which is what most people do when it comes to patience, is doing nothing while expecting time and others to solve the problem. Because if we are really honest with ourselves and being radically accountable, one thing is most people passively wait where life is setting the tone for you versus you setting the tone for your life. So when you're passively waiting for a problem to be solved, it drains your energy. It leads you to frustration and helplessness. Your mindset, I'll just wait and see what happens. This is so common in our culture. Tayyib, we'll let God figure it out. We will see what happens. Inshallah. This is these things. That's a passive waiting. An example is waiting for life circumstances or people to change without you taking any steps for yourself. Okay. So, are you somebody that passively waits in your own life? Now, be honest with yourself. There's no judgment here at all. It's about asking yourself, am I just allowing things to kind of happen? Are there things that I can do, which is moving us into active endurance, where choosing patience while staying engaged and grounded in purpose? It's you're saying, I'm going to keep doing the things like Community for International Arab. How many times did I tell Mira, that's it. I don't want to do this anymore. Khalas, faka'at, I'm done. And she would say, let's just keep doing the things. Let's just keep going. Let's just keep moving forward. And then at that point in doing the things, I said, okay, let me choose to be patient to the process. And it feels the energy that comes from that is it's empowering when you can move through those blocks within you, and you need people to help you through that. It's very difficult to move through that alone. That it's very empowering because it builds resilience, it builds strength. I told her just this morning, 20 years I've been wanting to do this. 20 years I started and stopped, started and stopped, started and stopped. Because every time that voice came, "Khalas badisha sawiha," I stopped. But in leaning into the patience, and it's in continuing to do the work even when you don't want to, right? You want to work out, you want to get in shape. Yeah, working out is a lot of work. And you may not be patient with the progress of the shifting in your body, yet it's in engaging and staying grounded in my purpose is overall health and wellness. Now, if you could take that to different things, because the mindset is, and this is key for everyone here, especially within our cultural context, I can't rush this. I cannot tell you, we are always in a rush, and I'll explain why a little later. I cannot rush this. Your mindset is slow down, slow down, slow down even more, because it's about preparing. Preparing your body, preparing your mind, preparing your soul, your being for this growth that you are in, so that when you trust this process and when you actually have it, you're going to appreciate it and you're going to keep it. Because there are people with a lot of wealth who've achieved it. They did all this active stuff, yet in them, they are broken. There are people surrounded by thousands of people, and yet they still feel so alone. There are famous people who feel profoundly insecure in their craft. So active endurance is not just about doing the things. It is about empowering yourself to say, I can't rush this. When I do manifest and bring this thing into my life, I want to make sure I'm in my wholeness in keeping it. Okay. So everyone, you get passive waiting, active endurance. Where are you in which bucket? Okay. Again, no judgment. There's always opportunities for growth. So why does patience matter? Okay. We have all these religious phrases, all these mantras around patience, yet we're in a world that literally does not embody any of that. Because of our fast-paced world and within our cultural context, we have very complex family systems. Did you hear that? Very complex family systems. And our impatience often comes from our pressure to succeed or maintain family honor. Maybe your family may be struggling in your home country, and you have this pressure to succeed in that. Two more points: balancing two cultures and expectations. That also requires a lot of patience. And then you may not have patience because emotional fatigue comes from these unspoken responsibilities. So ask yourself, where does my impatience come from? Is it the pressure to succeed and maintain family honor? Is it balancing two cultures and expectations? Or am I just emotionally fatigued from all these unspoken responsibilities? All right. Before we move into questions, I think it's very important that practicing patience is not weakness. Do you guys hear that? Practicing patience is not a weakness, because I think sometimes we equate calmness and slowing down with weakness. Now, we need to shift that mindset within our culture. It's a form of strength, faith, and emotional regulation does not mean weakness. All right. Mira, how are we doing? That's a good stopping point. Patience is not weakness.
Sophia said it's discipline, not motivation, which I think is so important.
Oh my gosh, Sophia, I love that because I don't even use motivation within my clinical practice at all. That word is not even on the radar. It's about, yes, discipline and momentum. Because the more you can discipline yourself to do the active endurance, to do the things, well, as a consequence of that, a positive consequence, you will create a momentum in your life. But most people stop the momentum. And that usually comes from an internal core belief, which I won't get into today, around this limiting belief I cannot have all the things that I want, or this limiting belief that it's too hard. So there's lots of reasons why once we start to feel successful, or you start to feel that momentum, or you have that really good discipline, more often than not, within our cultural context, there'll be like a self-sabotage, which I know Western therapists are like, no, we don't use the word self-sabotage anymore. Well, I mean, can we just say what it is? We're not, words have their place. So you need to ask yourself, why am I sabotaging myself when I had this discipline and I've created a momentum? It gives you an opportunity to look deeper within. Many times and I've said this before, it's our fear of our success. That's at the crux of it. Okay, anybody else, Mita? Discipline, Sophia. Yes. Discipline, momentum. If you think you're going to wait around to get this motivation, insu. Now you may, what the motivation piece may be important, because I don't want to poo-poo it too much. It's what is your why in doing something? What is your why? If you're doing something for someone else, you have to ask yourself, is that in alignment with my values or not? Now, if you're doing something for, very rarely within our cultural context are we doing something for ourselves. Now, what we don't understand is the more we do for ourselves, the more we can do for others. But we have cultural programming that's the opposite of that. And so you wonder why you're not patient with yourself. Because many times the patience that you are required, that you need, that are required for what means you have to find that motivate, like your why. That's what's going to drive the discipline and the commitment. And you have to be really clear on what your why is for you, not for the family, not for the culture. And that can take a profound shift in your mindset. Okay.
Arwa said, please keep going. Your reels helped me so much. And then she asked the question. She said, what do you do when you don't have the desire, but you know you need to change?
Interesting. The word desire. What do you do when you don't have the desire, but you know you need to change? Well, clearly, there's not that much desire. Or you may need to rethink what it is you're trying to change. Now, again, if you're trying to change for others, you don't have a desire to do that. So I'm going to encourage you to say, well, what is it that I want to change? And does this change, is it for me or is it for somebody else? And if you don't have a desire, which may be another word for motivation, is to, again, figure out what is your why. If you want to change something, ask yourself why. And your desire may not be, sometimes it's a process. Sometimes you're maybe at an age or a different point in your life where it's not like you're in that, what did I call it? The passive waiting. You may not be ready to move into that active endurance phase. But it's about asking, where am I at with this change? And you may not be ready, and that's okay. All right. Now, I'm going to ask you guys a couple questions. Now, we're going to take a minute just for you to look within. What situations test your patience the most? Now, try not to overthink it. What are the situations that test your patience the most? Okay. How did I learn to? So, anybody want to share an example? I'm tired of hearing myself talk. Anybody want? What situations tend to test your patience the most? Mira, do you have any situations? I'm putting you on the hot seat to get people going.
I do, and I will also
Test my
answer.
patience. Everything tests my patience. My sister would laugh. She goes, "You know what? You have the patience of a gnat," and it's so true. She's so right. I'm getting better though. Tab,
I
if you're
have
watching.
I have the same answer as Arwa. She said being with family. I would say being with certain family members.
Oh my gosh. Our families require a lot of patience. Many of our families, not every family. A lot of patience. Yes. Let's
Kalawati Beauty said, when little things my children do that trigger my childhood."
Oh, Kalawati Beauty. My gosh. Hamiti, yes. Yes. They absolutely trigger your childhood. And it's about being patient with that little girl or that little boy within you when you're parenting to be patient with that person inside. Oh, uh, Rania, you wrote dating. Oh, Habibti, dating. Um, I'm hoping to collaborate. I have a whole thing on modern dating. This was in collaboration with Match with Ahmad. I'm really hoping he came up with this brilliant idea. Modern dating is not for Arab. So, yeah, dating, dating is, yeah, Arab dating is a challenge, Rania, for sure. Let's see. All right, let's keep going. Um, all right, so let's acknowledge our cultural context around patience, that it's not necessarily an individual trait. Many times we weren't taught patience. Most of us had modeling of impatience. And when in your life were you patient? When did sabr come into, and you were like, wow, I was really patient in that moment? And can you remember those moments? Right. And so patience, again, is not an individual trait. It's usually tied to our community, the rhythm, the faith, and our survival. Now, many of our parents, we talk about this generational trauma. This is that enduring, the dignity, the faith. When they were enduring what they were enduring in their home countries, and then they immigrated to their new country that they came to, they had to do things fast. They had to make money. They had to create a home. They had to learn a language. They had to adapt to whatever culture they were in, and they had to make friends, and they had to create community. It was like this constantly, because that came from survival. And so we have to remember that, and there was a rush to marry the kids and rush to have children. There was always this rhythm to which many of us were raised in this cultural context. And so we want to start, I know it's going to sound counterintuitive, but we want to start normalizing impatience as a response to high expectations and pressure, not a flaw. I know for myself, excuse me, I beat myself up for my lack of patience. I still do. Uh, because, and then as I was preparing for this live, I said, well, think about all the survival of our family, that we didn't have they didn't have the luxury to be patient, to ground themselves and go with the flow, to just allow the universe to create for them. They didn't have that. And so I want us to normalize that our impatience is really about our desire to create the life that we were meant to live. But because that was disrupted by wars, migration, what else? I mean, the plethora of things, genocide. I mean, gosh, the list goes on and on and on of our communities constantly witnessing all this strife. And then we become impatient because maybe we want to elevate our community or we want to give money to our families. So let's reframe. If you're impatient, it's only because you have a desire to move forward for yourself and for your family, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. Our communities, also, whether it's family expectations, success, or appearances, you have to remember any slowing down, and I hear this a lot from clients, and even it took a long time, practice. Any slowing down felt extremely uncomfortable, not just uncomfortable, extremely uncomfortable, because you slow down. It's like, oh, you're lazy. You're not doing enough. You're not progressing fast enough. So you have to remember that even sometimes we were shamed that it could be disrespectful. Your family may say, you're not doing enough. You're not doing something fast enough. You're disrespecting us. You're disrespecting the community. And it's actually a strength. You slowing down is giving your nervous system an opportunity to move forward mindfully and from a grounded place. But yet your nervous system may be the very thing that's driving you because of those core beliefs of, I have to get things done. I have to get things done because my self-worth is tied to how much I'm doing. Do you guys see that? Yeah, thank you. Kalawati Beauty wrote, self-worth is tied to constant productivity. That's right. So this idea of being versus doing within our culture, we're constantly doing. But how often are we being in a state of presence to say, what changes do I want to make in my life? What changes need to be made in my life? Where am I at with those changes? And then we're just doing that. We're not even mindfully thinking about it because we're so impatient. And again, it's not a flaw. It's a strength to slow down. And your impatience is, let's reframe that to something like, oh, I have this within me to do better, to be better. All right. Now, no matter the faith, we want to reframe patience as spiritual and cultural strength. It's that steadfastness that our ancestors, I'd like us to go back to that steadfastness of the value of sabr, the endurance of what our ancestors, they connected this practice to identity rather than self-blame. And I know through all the stuff that's happened throughout the decades that we've lost that. So I'd like us to go back to our ancestors. They were the essence of sabr. This is what they embodied as they built great things. Can we go back to that? And they were more connected to the land, more connected to nature, more connected in community. And we've lost that. We've allowed our communities to move towards things that are not at the crux of who we are, the light of who we are as Arab. So patience does not mean silence. It means steady faith. Because Mita and I talked about it earlier today that just because someone is silent or you don't, it doesn't mean they're patient. Okay. Faith is in action. That God, if we're going to go with God, and if you're an atheist, that's okay. Your higher self, whatever, it doesn't matter. That the story about the guy on the boat and he's like, he's on top of his roof as there's a flood. And then he's praying. He goes, God, save me. God, save me. And then a boat goes by. Hey, come in. We're gonna come in. He goes, no, God's gonna save me. Then the helicopter comes, and the water keeps going, and the guy, they say, come, and then he says, no, God is gonna save me. And then he dies, and then God says, he goes, God, why have you forsaken me? He goes, well, I sent you a boat and an airplane. So is God sending you lifelines and you're not taking them because of this? How did I get on? How did I totally derailed myself? But you see where I'm going with that, you guys? That in your patience, there may be earth angels around you. There may be people wanting to help you, but are you taking that action to embrace it? Sabr is definitely not waiting. It's enduring with dignity. Now, what does dignity mean? Sometimes life hands us a whole bunch of crap, bad stuff. And you're saying, how can I stay grounded in this and knowing who I am? Not, and sometimes we act in ways because we're not patient. We may yell at people. We may harm people as a result of we may cheat people as a result of our lack of patience. Just because you're silent about it doesn't mean it's not an energy that's coming back at you. So be really careful with how you're moving in the world, particularly around patience. How are we doing on time, Mira?
We're good. We can keep going for a few more moments before we start taking questions if you want.
Okay, perfect. So somebody said their family, one of the triggers to their lack of patience or their impatience is their family. So how do we practice regulated pauses in family dynamics? Now, it's so important to the power of the pause. Now, before you go into any family gathering, you want to assess, where's my patience level? Where am I at? If you're hungry, now I know we stay starving because we want to eat all the good foods at the family house. Yeah, no, your blood sugar goes down. Eat a little bit before you go in. Yeah, because that can affect your patient level. There's so many heated discussions about all kinds of stuff, right? Everybody has an opinion. Nobody's listening to one another. So there's like these heated discussions around, name the topic, could be fruit, and somebody will argue about it. You have to remember that you want to stay grounded in that with the power of the pause, especially between the generations. Slow yourself. Don't expect the elders to change. Just the power of the pause. You want to breathe with intention, taking a slow inhale before replying. That is probably one of the hardest techniques, even when you're feeling criticized, even when they're throwing shade at you, even when they're beniku, like, they do this little, and you're like all calm, cool, and collected. And the more grounded you are, sometimes the more they like to nick because they want to see a reaction from you. And then you snap, and then you're like, why did I do that? It's going to be important for you to get really good at practicing your breathing. No matter what they say, how do you create distance between what they're telling you and who you are? And then the physical grounding. Sometimes just pressing your feet on the floor, okay? Pressing your feet on the floor is a type of grounding. Sometimes I like to do some do some massage. So like while they're talking, I will just like gently massage my hands. My great grandmother used to do that. Yeah, Sithi, she used to do that. I used to wonder why she was doing that. She was grounding herself in the midst of chaos. And she would do this. So it could be you want to do breathing with intention, physical grounding. And this is where, for those of you that are of faith, you use faith-based grounding in those micro moments of regulation. So sometimes you may say a dua or a prayer and say, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So that serenity prayer is really important. So find your prayer, find your grounding through your own faith. All right. Where are we at, Mira? Grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change.
We have a question. It says, "What do you mean by to stay grounded?" I think
Yeah,
that's what they.
I love that question. So grounding is where your body is in a place of neutrality. So only you can feel that in yourself. So think about a time where you felt the most at peace, the most whole. Uh, and you may find one, even if it's a glimmer of time. You want to, that's your ventral system, which is the top tier of your autonomic nervous system. And you want to find those micro moments of where you felt the most neutral. So grounding could be through breathing, physical grounding, yoga, music, dance, art. There's many, many ways to do that. Any other questions?
Yeah, we have Toa. She said sometimes you can't control your emotions. I think she was saying whenever you were saying take a deep breath before you start engaging. She was saying that it's hard to control your emotions.
That's right. It is hard to control your emotions because, again, through that active endurance, it takes practice. I cannot tell you guys how hard it is, especially because many of our nervous systems are so tied to chaos that in order for you to find your peace, it's a daily practice, sometimes all day long. But many of us don't want to take accountability that we are probably not doing all the things we need to do to get there. Let's see. When I sit with family, I stop taking what they say seriously and start analyzing what happened to make them that way, especially with the elders. I love that. Finding that empathy within you. Now, does that mean you take abuse? No. If it's abusive and it's hurting you, you get up and you leave. I do not think we need to stay in environments that are abusive to us, especially physical abuse. So, yeah, you want to kind of take a look, not only just analyzing them to go, gosh, what, that place of curiosity, what's going on for them? But you also want to take a look at within you, what happens within you when they're coming at you that way. So also do some of that and bring it back to you. How can you strengthen yourself? Okay. Let's see. Can you place boundaries with overbearing parents? That's my biggest struggle. Ludenhow, gosh. You can place boundaries with overbearing parents, and it is a huge struggle. And you start small. Now, you start small with what's going to be comfortable for your nervous system. You don't want to overtax it. So it could be they call you all the time or they're texting you all the time. You may not respond right away. Like, give it a minute before you respond, as an example. One more question, and then we're going to move on. وين احنا?
We have Arwa. She said, is there a way to keep my authentic self alive when most things that make me me are rejected by the family?
I love that. I won't get into that here, but I have a whole video on the YouTube channel that talks about double life and ways to cope with that. Let's see. Nadine talked about disassociation as a coping mechanism. My mom, I won't get into disassociation because that moves us into trauma responses, but my mom would call it la la land. She goes, Ana bidi ruh ala la la land. And I said, ruh ala la la land. Mom, you need to be in la la land. So yeah. I don't mean to make light of it. This coping mechanism, I think we tend to pathologize things too much. And sometimes, your disassociation is necessary. So I don't pathologize this. Sometimes you need to go to, as my mother says, la la land in order to deal with whatever's happening. That's that protective part of you, that self-protection that's getting overwhelmed by what's in front of you. Don't try not to shame yourself for that. There's a whole thing about when disassociation does do harm and when it does affect your life, but that's not for this live here. It's too much. But thank you for that. I appreciate you. All right. One of the things around patience that I will encourage everybody to read is The Story of the Farmer and the Palm Tree. Now, I won't read it here because everyone's attention spans are pretty low. I say that lovingly. But go read The Story of the Farmer and the Palm Tree. And it's a beautiful story about patience, sabr. Again, it's about trusting what you nurture will bear fruit in its time. Okay? Remembering, can you trust that what you're doing is going to bear fruit? And a lot of times we don't trust that because we want to control outcomes. We want to control everything. Okay? So that story is a beautiful story. It's a wonderful story. Our ancestors were wonderful storytellers. They used cultural metaphors. Again, can we go back to our ancestral practices of storytelling? And this is a story I call upon all the time when I'm losing faith, when I'm losing patience, that I said, yes, you may not be, whatever you're creating may take time, and it's not just for you, but it's for others. Another way to build patience is, let me see. Okay, let me ask you guys. I'm going to let you, because there's two ways I can go with this next topic. We can go with ways to develop more patience, or we can talk about core reasons why we're impatient. Anybody? We got 2 minutes. We're going to do a vote here because I have so much information. So I want to do what's meaningful to people that are active on the live.
Can you please read the two options again? Or tell us the two options again?
Yeah, I can go to core reasons why we're impatient, or I can move us into how to develop more patience. Anybody? Developing more patience, Nadine? Okay. Developing more. Okay, let's do that. Everyone knows why they're impatient. Okay, tell you, yeah. All right. Okay, well, I'm going to do a part 2. So how about part 2? I will do core reasons why we're impatient, but let's go over some tools. Developing patience begins with practice and awareness. And we cannot do that when we don't create stillness in our life. So one thing I'll encourage each and every one of you to do is 5 minutes of stillness. No phones, no screens, no distractions, no book, no hockey, no nothing. Just go somewhere where you have 5 minutes of stillness. Now that's going to be excruciating for some of you, because when you're still, the things are going to come up within you, the fears, the shame, the guilt, the ruminations are going to be very intense. And that's where you pause and you practice your breathing, and you just breathe through it. Now, I know it sounds very simple, yet it's in the stillness and in the breath that you will find that patience within you. So are you going to commit and have the discipline to do this daily? And sometimes, dare I say, multiple times a day. So breath, pause before responding. We're always fast. So before a demand, so we've got the stillness. Now, when you're out in the real world, stop responding so fast. Unless it's an emergency, unless someone's, dying, actively dying, not saying they're dying, you want to slow down. Before you respond, you want to ask yourself, develop that patient, that skill of, do I need to respond? How do I want to respond? What is this respond? What is their demand on me mean to me? So do some self-reflection. That would be technique number 2. Pause, the 3-second rule before replying. I usually say for Arab, it's a 16-second rule. 3 seconds will be like 1, 2, 3, right? You want to slow down. Maybe count to 16. Why 16? I don't know. It's a random number. Choose your number. It doesn't matter, right? So that would be technique number 2. Pause before responding. The other one, again, faith-based anchoring. Now, if you're atheist, that's okay. Find the words. But if you do have faith, no matter your faith, a silent verse, a prayer, when the anger starts to arise within you or the fear starts to arise, the moment you feel that in your body, most Arab, myself included, we override that feeling with, oh, it's me, it's my fault, I'm the problem. No, slow down, pause before responding. And then you want to say a short verse or a short prayer, and you say, okay, let me not internalize it. Let me externalize this emotion a little bit and say, is it about the other person? Is there something happening? Look at the facts of what's in front of you. But because we go from an emotional response, because this is what we were taught and modeled, it's going to be important. You develop this body-mind connection by saying, I feel it in my body. You want to address it sooner than later. Do not override it. The moment you feel irritated, you're like, oh, I'm irritated. You want to stop, take a look. Why am I irritated? Maybe you don't like somebody's face. There's nothing wrong with that. But to say, why don't I like that somebody's face? And you go through the cognitive process of going, oh, they remind me of that kid that bullied me when I was like 9. Well, I don't need to respond so harshly to that person. They're not that bully when I was 9. They're them. So then you can slow yourself down and find that neutrality, find your grounding, which leads me to embodied grounding. That technique I learned by pressing your fingertips or pressing your feet on the floor, feeling your feet on the floor, that grounding, and then slowing down your pace. I was telling my cousins, we would laugh. I'm like, why are we always running? Like we're always running somewhere. When like we're just like, yalla, keep moving. At least in my family context. And I'm like, can we just slow down? So sometimes when you find yourself jetty, hick, you're like this, you want to slow your walking pace down. Or if you're on your computer and you're doing this and doing that and washing dishes and or let's say you're working on a project for all my software engineers, right? If you're just working on multiple things, slow down. Take a minute, just slow down. You'll get to everything, I promise you, but you got to slow down to give your nervous system this grounding to say, am I getting revved up? Is there a reason? Did I drink water? Did I eat? Did I go to the bathroom? Did I get enough sleep? And you do an assessment. Did I connect with my loved ones? Am I feeling isolated? So in that embodied grounding of like pressure point, massage, these things that ground you, I don't know what that is for you, painting, writing, you will be able to assess for yourself when your nervous system gets revved up, which leads to this lack of patience. Any questions that anyone has on any of the techniques I talked about? So there were 4: grounding through breath, and you can go online. There's thousands of grounding through breath exercise. Find the one that really resonates with you. Number 2, pause before responding, the power of the pause. So using that count to 16, focus on something else in the room before you respond, especially in conflictual or high intensity interactions. Number 3, Faith-based anchoring. No matter your faith, sometimes that serenity prayer, a verse that called to you, a prayer that brought you peace, again, that ventral part of your nervous system, find it and slow down with that. Really, really slow down. Sometimes when I'm in these situations, I ask God, because I'm a woman of faith, I ask God, I said, God, please give me strength to stay present so that I don't respond in a way that's not in your light. Because I can come at people pretty harshly. And it took me years, decades, still working on it, not to respond fast, but to say, God, please give me the strength so I could speak from your voice, from your peace, not from my conflict. And every time I've done that, when you anchor in your faith, that light, because we're never abandoned, that light, that the angels, the God, whatever you want to call it, will whisper in your ear, I got you. But you have to be open to listening and to slowing yourself down, because if your body is hick, you're going to be like that guy on the roof when there's a flood and the boat comes and the airplane comes and you're missing the messages. And number 4, embodied grounding. Pressing, again, you want to physically get your body grounded. So for those of you that cross your legs, or those of you that kind of contort your bodies, which I do, you want to sit upright, put your shoulders back, right? Elongate yourself. You want to bring everything up and ground your feet on the floor. Or sometimes you want to ground through a tree, or ground through a stone, or ground through something. Find your grounding. And it's a physical object. Sometimes that could be really helpful if you're going into a meeting and you're nervous, or you're going into a family situation that you're like, oh, Auntie's going to be, so harsh towards me. Sometimes bring that little object. We have so many things in our culture that can bring you that physical grounding. And then sometimes you could just, what's it called? The masbaha? What's that called when the old men, they do is that right? The little beads that they do? What's that called?
It's, give me a moment. I think it's can someone help us?
You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I looked at all the elders, right, when preparing for this. I said there was so many things they did to physically ground themselves, right? My tete would crochet. She would knit, constant knitting. They would do tetrias. They physically grounded themselves through this. The older men would have that thing, the musbah, I don't know what it's called, and they would just constantly twirl it. And you can always tell how anxious the uncle was, because he would twirl it faster. And I was like, oh yeah, this guy, he may be silent, but his patience is getting worn. And so the reason why I say that is, again, subha, is that what it's called, Rania? Did I say that right? Inshallah, I said that right. I don't know.
Anyway. I think, yeah.
I'll be taking Arabic classes soon. Don't worry, guys. So again, find that grounding, find those objects. Okay. So those are the top 4 things. All right. I think we're at about time. Oh, musbaha. I did say that right. Thank you, Nadine.
Oh, I guess it's called a different thing in Egypt, because I'm not sure if it's
tasbih.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, on that note, I wanted to say thank you to each and every one of you for being on the live, for being patient, for giving yourself this time. Practice, 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 discipline, commitment. If you commit to yourself daily to doing the breathing, the pause, the faith-based anchoring, and the embodied grounding, you will start to develop your patience. And then the more you can do that, again, it's a superpower, because there's nothing more empowering than when you can go into a situation and say, I was so patient, I was so clear, and that builds confidence. And at the end of the day, what we're trying to build is patience with one another, compassion for one another, empathy. And that brings unity. That will bring us closer together. The more patient we are with ourselves, the more patient we can be with others. And in this patience, we will be able to see one another through the eyes of a higher consciousness that we've lost in our world. So, nawar titnawar, the light in me sees the light in you. And I wish you all the very best. And I'll see you next week on Wadih Wednesday, where we'll have another topic to talk about. And enjoy whatever you decide to do. Find your patience. I wish you guys the best. Take care.
Can you see Sophia's comments?
Sophia?
Yeah.
No. Wait, I'm still on the live. Well, Sophia, oh, thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Sophia said divine timing for real. Well, I love that. I love you guys. Have a good one. Are we done? Nope. Uh-oh. There we go.